I want to take you on a trip to my island, to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I am 8 years old. It is the end of the school year, and we're about to get report cards. Now, I am happy because I know what's coming. So I grabbed my report card, stuffed it into my bag, and began the trek up the hill from my beachside elementary school in the blazing sun, past all the ripe, juicy mangoes, because I'm on a mission. I had to take this report card to all the elders in my village first. And as I get to the dirt track, my first stop is Miss Aya's house. Now, she's an elderly lady, and I went up to her stairs and I said, I have my report card. And she said, what did you come? I said, I came in first. She said, good job. Keep it up and don't follow bad company. So I took my report card and went up the slope, past the tamarind tree, through the herb garden. The next stop is Uncle Almond's house. And he's not my real uncle. And he's blind. So now I got to read the report card to him. And he still says, what did you come? I came in fast. Karen, you know you have to keep your head on. Don't follow people. Don't follow a crowd. By the time I got to my grandmother's and my parents' house, I knew the script. But I still wanted to hear it because I crave the attention and I crave the encouragement to keep up the good work, to keep going, to keep moving, to keep striving. But that piece about people and company and friends, I didn't quite get it. I had to figure it out. So every time I got to a new school year, because I heard this script every school year, every term, I had to figure out, are you bad company? I looked at all the kids. Did you cuss? Were you rude to the teachers? Do you have good grades? And I tried to figure out how to fit people into this script, into this mold, but I kept achieving into high school, into college, onto my adult years. The script kept going through my head about making sure I keep achieving and I keep going and I keep moving and watch out for the people. But no one taught me how to find the right people. I just knew I had to watch out for the people. And how many of us have been taught to watch out for the people, but you don't know which people to watch out for? At one point, I remember just feeling so proud as I looked at all my accomplishments. I was pulling myself up by the bootstrap because I was relying on that encouragement. But the people part, I realized, kept me in fear. It kept me isolated. It kept me in a space of self-sufficiency because I was constantly thinking, how do I get to the next achievement? Because all I kept hearing were the great voices of encouragement in my head. And then 2020 came. I went through a series of family transitions and losses, and like everybody else, we lost business too. And I remember wondering, who am I without these accomplishments? Who am I now that as I'm a place where I decided to go from where I was, I sold everything because I wanted to start over in a new place. Because when you lose everything, you are left with just yourself. And the last time I checked, the accomplishments don't come knocking and say, hi, let me make you happy. They're locked away in a corner, in a box somewhere, and you're left with yourself. And my mentor looked at me and he said, Karen, who are you? And I went back to that box and dug out my accomplishments. I was ready to give him a long list. He said, no, without the accomplishments, who are you? If you were to introduce yourself to someone new and you couldn't speak your accomplishments, what would you do? So as I moved across the country into a brand new location, I decided to not mention any accomplishments. Not the company, not the books, not the work with international people, nothing. Just show up as me. And I had no clue who that was. And the one thing he said was, why don't you just be vulnerable? Vulnerable? That's a pretty big word. Why don't you just be you? Who was I? I had no idea. I got to my new space where I was living. I traveled at least 5 states, and I was in a place where I knew no one, had no connections, had no nothing at all. And I simply introduced myself as a person who loved gardening, as a person of faith, as a person, and I gave my list without one professional accomplishment. And I told my story as a human being of loss. I told my story of all the challenges I faced and how I was rebuilding myself. And that was pretty scary. Because as I did this, I remember sitting on a Zoom meeting with 7 accomplished women, CEOs, executives, women from all parts of the world who are accustomed to leading with their accomplishments. And I decided to go out of the box and lead with who I was. There was a hush in the room because no one didn't know what quite to do with this woman who was just being human. And then one by one, I heard these women say, I'd like to go because I am not my accomplishments. And I'm scared. And I'm tired of being the strong one who always need to be self-sufficient. And I'm exhausted because they too were living by a script. They were being held up by the encouragement of keep going, you're wonderful. And that had its place. But they too were scared of people because they did not know how do you build strong relationships when you're scared. So they covered their soul and they covered their heart with accomplishments. I'm going to ask you, what script are you following? Because as women, as men, as people from different parts of life, we're all following a script of some sort. But it feels like it's reality. And it feels so real until you begin to examine and say, is this script keeping me safe? Or is this script isolating me? Is this script pushing me to self-sufficiency? Or is this script teaching me that if I come into community with people, there might be a better way? I set out to answer that question about scripts and communities and fear of finding the right people. And I decided just to continue to be vulnerable, just to show up as a person, just to show up and lead with my heart. And I realized I was not alone. And those women on the call, one by one, I realized that they too were looking for a place where, one, they can learn how to find the right people. Because if you find the right people, you're able to grow. If you find the right people, and I'm not talking about the people you play golf with and the people you go to brunches with, I'm talking about finding the kind of people who are not afraid to call you out. Finding the right kind of people who could be like an irritant because what they're doing is rubbing off your sharp edges and they're smoothing you out. I'm talking about the kind of people who will sit with you when you cry and push you towards your highest potential without ego, without fear. Now, are there bad people in the world? You bet you there are. But what would life be like if we were to realize that finding the right people and depending on people is not a sign of weakness? It is not a sign of immaturity. It's not something to be feared. But if you're able to take that encouragement and couple it with the right group of people, do you understand the power and the magic and the relief that you can find? See, we have this thing about there's an epidemic of loneliness. It's not that there's an epidemic of loneliness, it's that there's an epidemic of people who are hiding behind achievements and don't know who they are. They're hiding, they're lonely because they're so afraid to show the real person. So, my question to you is simply this: who are you? And who really, really, really knows the real you? Not your list of accomplishments, but who knows the real you? And at the same time, realize that if you're placed in the right environment, that the people who are around you can lift you up and bring you to your highest potential. But first, you need to examine your scripts and decide, are you the kind of people who can definitely stand and say, people who need people are the luckiest people in the world? I thank you. Thank you.